Did you know that 30 million children and adults in the United States have diabetes, and adults over age 65 are more likely to be diagnosed with the disease than any other age group? Foot problems, diabetes can lead to infections, ulcers, and potential amputations. November is American Diabetes Awareness Month, and we wanted to bring in podiatrists to talk about the topic. Dr. Mitchell Waskin and Robert Pica is here to join us this morning. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in this morning. I remember years ago when the dentist first started checking your mouth for all kinds of stuff, and I'm going like, what are you guys looking at in there? You know, and they said, well, stuff that happens in the mouth can lead to other things. This diabetes can lead to really big problems, can it?
Yeah, it can. In fact, we try to do an annual diabetic foot exam on all of our diabetic patients, and we look at those little things like the condition of the skin. Do they have hair on their toes, which could be an early indication if they lose hair of losing circulation. Educate them as far as looking for wounds early, because little problems in diabetics can turn into big problems very quickly.
You deal with wounds a lot, don't you?
Every day.
Yeah, every day. And you brought a couple of samples here that are just as gross as they can be. And this is what how fast? All right, so this would be an early wound on a foot, or, you know, somebody comes in and says, my foot hurts, and you see this.
Well, part of the problem is that people don't see this happen, they can't feel it. This starts as a callus. About 70% of diabetic foot ulcers begin as a callus. So it starts as a callus, then it shears away, and it reveals the skin underneath.
Yeah.
And
that's when it comes to you.
Correct.
Yeah. And so how long between this and, oh my gosh, this thing here? This is just amazing to me that can happen to your toes.
So this is on a spectrum. This would be at one end, and this is once there's a severe infection or a lack of circulation, the tissue starts to die. And this is a medical emergency at this point. This patient's going to the hospital, maybe surgery, advanced imaging. A lot of specialists are going to get involved, including vascular surgery, hospitalists, infectious disease. This is truly a collaborative effort to save diabetic feet, because there's so many things that are going on that contribute to a situation like this.
For that one end of your body to be in that bad shape, there's definitely other stuff going on in other places.
Yeah, there really is. The number one complication of diabetes are actually foot problems. We hear more about kidneys, eyes, things like that, but it's feet that put more diabetics in the hospital than anything. And diabetes does affect the circulation, especially below the knee. So these are very common, and a lot of times until this occurs, people don't know they have a problem, which is why it's very important to do preventative care.
So how long between this and would the person have to let this go to get to this point? Does it depend on how serious the diabetes is, obviously?
Correct. So diabetes does a few things. It affects the circulation. It also affects your body's immune system. It makes those cells sluggish that fight off infection. So depending on how well the diabetes is controlled and how good their circulation is determines how quickly it goes there. It could be a matter of days, weeks, or months, because sometimes I've had patients that have stepped on something at home and 6 months later they're admitted to the hospital with sepsis because the infection got into the blood.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about how we can prevent this from happening. And you say people don't know they have diabetes. How do we start down this road?
Well, first we'll start with your primary care physician and get your annual checkups and make sure that you find out if you have, whether it's diabetes or any other problems. That's what that good annual checkup is for, and especially if there's a family history. And if you are diabetic, when you don't have problems, before you have a problem, that's when you want to come see a podiatrist, because again, the feet is the #1 problem area with diabetics. And look at your feet every day, extremely important. If you see minor little problems, a little red area that could be an infection, a small little sore, don't say, let me just take care of it myself, throw a little Neosporin on it and see what happens, and then if it doesn't heal, I'll see the doc, because things can progress so quickly. You want to come in early.
Wow. Great stuff. Thank you both very much. Who knew? Well, they knew. They definitely know. I want to thank Dr. Robert Pica, and he is facilitating a seminar on foot health and diabetes. Simple steps to live a longer, fuller life. That's coming up on Thursday, November 21st, 9:30 a.m. at the Lifelong Learning Institute in Chesterfield. WTVR.com/VTM is where you can go for all the details. Still a lot more in store for you to enjoy when Virginia This Morning returns.